has its very own Loch Ness Monster. In April 2014, 2 ministry employees were in their boat on Kootenay Lake angling for white sturgeon as part of the annual adult sampling program for this species. They were 2 of only a handful of people in the country allowed to do this, since the white sturgeon here is federally listed as endangered. And they caught a monster. They had a crane on board their boat that lifted up to 250 pounds, but when they tried to use it to pull a giant sturgeon from the water, they nearly capsized their vessel. They slowly made their way to the shore and examined the beast just off of the beach. The catch measured 10.5 feet long from tip to tail, and they estimated its weight to be over 350 pounds. Based on its shape and size, it was thought to be between 80 and 100 years old. A tracking device was inserted into the specimen so that they could follow her movements. And in the first 6 months, they discovered she traveled over 255 kilometers from Creston to Balfour, to the US border, back to Balfour, and then to Caslow. Apparently, she likes to stop regularly at Lang's for ice cream. By tracking her movements, the hope is to learn about sturgeon spawning behavior in an attempt to explain why wild eggs are not surviving through the larval stages of life. The Kootenay River sturgeon population is endangered in both Canada and the United States due to a variety of human impacts, including the operation of the Libby Dam, which has altered the natural flow of the river. The Kootenay tribe of Idaho initiated a sturgeon conservation aquaculture program in 1991, the first of its kind, which collects wild broodstock of adult sturgeon from the river and raises the juveniles that they spawn. This was created because there has been virtually no natural reproduction of this species in the wild since 1974. There are thought to be less than 1,000 adults living on both sides of the border, when previous estimates were at 7,000. But you can help. Over 220,000 hatchery juveniles of white sturgeon have been released into the Kootenay River system as a result of breeding programs. And this year, the annual sturgeon release occurs on April 26th from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. at the old ferry landing at the end of Kootenay River Road. This is an event, it's open to the public, it's free, and it's fun because, let's face it, you get to release little baby fish monsters. Thanks.
Something told the wild geese it was time to go. Though the fields lay golden, something whispered snow. Leaves were green and stirring. But beneath warm feathers, something cautioned frost. So fly, bird, fly. Winter's on the wing. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Come again something whispered,
Welcome, one and all, to this, our choir concert with a twist. Now, just before our last rehearsal, I was told to write an infomercial. So, nervously, I take my turn, presenting so you all can learn about something you just might care. It's called the Creston Harvest Chair, a scheme that's run for 10 whole years with keen and trusty volunteers who field by field collect their loot, unwanted vegetables and fruit. But far from keeping all with greed, they share it out to those in need. Since they began their picking rounds, they've gathered £20,000. Now this has other benefits, reducing grizzly bear conflicts. And as the food piles grow much taller, our carbon footprint gets much smaller. So if you have some time to lend, lace up your boots and bring a friend, then show the town how much you care with Creston Valley Harvest Chair.
you think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn blow? Or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains?
You may have noticed the small seedlings in front of you on your table. They are yours to keep and plant where you will. They've been generously donated by the Creston Community Forest. This truly local initiative focuses on managing Creston Valley's forest resources for not only environmental longevity, but education, recreation, and economic pursuits. From removing thick underbrush in canyon to lower the risk of wildfire, to hosting field trips for students to learn about the forests of their valley, the CCF has achieved so much for our community. A new hiking trail is being constructed to link Creston up onto the Goat Mountain, and to date they have planted almost 1 million seedlings consisting of 7 different species. The variation creates a crop more resistant to pests and disease. This year, the CCF shipped 1,500 tons of scrap logs to the Castlegar pulp mill to produce over 115 tons of paper. That's 23 million sheets. I thought I would finish with a joke about paper, but this lot over here thought it was too terrible. Creston and thought, this town's in a bit of a need of a pick-me-up. Noticed the culvert's calling for a cleaning. Well, we can all do our part on Sunday, June 3rd by signing up for the annual Dash for Trash. Last year, over 400 locals took to the streets to help beautify the town we proudly call home. You can register your team at the Beer Gear store located at the Columbia Brewery by April 30th. Each team will receive a free shirt, along with the satisfaction of celebrating Earth Day in a fun and productive way. If you have any questions about the Dash for Trash, you can contact Megan Holland after the concert.
Walk on the earth gently. Walk on the earth gently. Walk on the earth so gently. She won't come back. She won't come back again.
Take what you need,
Gently,
take what you need,
gently.
take what you need.
So gently. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. Oh, mountains, rivers, valleys. Oh, my heart, walking so gently. She won't come back. She won't come back again. Oh, she won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. Gently, do what you can. Gently, do what you can. So gently. She won't come back. She won't come back again.
Love what you see,
Gently,
love what you see,
gently.
love what you see.
So gently. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. Oh, mountains, rivers, valleys. Oh, my heart, walking so gently. She won't come back. She won't come back again. Oh, she won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. Walk on the earth. She won't come back again. Do what you need. She won't come back again. Do what you can. Love what you see. Walk on the earth. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again. She won't come back. She won't come back again.
And now we're going to recycle a song. We'd like you to join us. You all have a piece of paper on the table to share. And it's the recycled version of the Hokey Pokey.